Some substances are not in their most stable state. We say that they are metastable. They are not in the lowest Gibbs free energy form that they could be in. This is such an example. Here we have a solution of sodium ethanoate in water, also known as sodium acetate. The concentration of sodium ethanoate in this solution is higher than the solubility. Now you may ask, how is that even possible? Well, that's because the solubility depends on temperature, and this solution was made with hot water, where the solubility is much higher, and then the water was cooled. But the ethanoate ion is kind of big, and it's hard for the sodium and ethanoate ions to arrange themselves in their crystal lattice. So there is a barrier to forming the solid crystals from the solution. So we can have a concentration of sodium ethanoate above its solubility. Now, being in this metastable state, it is sensitive to switching back to the spontaneous reaction happening. That is, with the sodium ethanoate coming out of solution. This can happen if I bump the tube, but that's more reliably, I can make that happen if I add the tiniest, even the tiniest of crystals of solid sodium ethanoate, because the crystal provides a template for the ions to form the solid, and they'll simply, the crystal that I add, no matter how small, will simply grow, and all the sodium ethanoate will come out of solution. And I'm just going to add them and see what happens. So we see now the sodium ethanoate coming out of solution. In fact, there's a whole lot of sodium ethanoate in this tube. Now the crystals that are formed will actually have a lot of water incorporated into them, so it'll look like the water just disappeared. Now, a question for us. Is this reaction exothermic or endothermic? And because we know that it's spontaneous, we can say with certainty which it is. So at this point, you should, if you want, can pause the video and think about it. Now that you've restarted the video, we can answer, this must be an exothermic reaction because the delta S is negative. The aqueous solution, we have aqueous ions here forming a solid. That's got a negative delta S. Aqueous, which are free ions going to a solid form, in the rigid lattice, that's got a negative delta S. If the delta H were positive, then this reaction could never be spontaneous. But it is, so it must be exothermic. And as a matter of fact, if I put my hand in there, it's really hot. Okay, and I guess maybe another time I'll do this with a thermometer so I can demonstrate that. But you'll take my word for it, right? It is hot. It's very hot. Okay, so here we have another tube filled with supersaturated sodium ethanoate. And what I'm going to do now is see if I can get it to come out of solution through a mechanical process of just bumping. Never happens when you want it to.
It's okay.
If it's not going to happen, maybe if I shook it.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh, look, it worked.